Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So some interesting stuff to cover here. I'll cover some Avatar generation stuff right at the end of the video, but also we have the kind of, I suppose, final updates on sort of what to expect. There's been some sort of like leaks, rumors about kind of what the announcement that's going to be at Netflix Tudum for the live action is going to be. So you'll have all the information for that as we get to it. But first, I'll just lead with this. Avatar Weiss Schwarz is out tomorrow, so 16th of June. As you can see here, we're going to get the trial deck plus the booster set and the supply set. All will be released officially tomorrow. Now, you'll have already seen my early opening. I have some of the stuff already. My other stuff that I ordered myself, that I pre-ordered, has shipped. It shipped yesterday, but since it's coming from Germany, I think it's going to take until probably early next week, maybe even mid to late next week for it to arrive. But it does mean I will have some more kind of booster boxes, trial deck, supply set stuff to open. And once I have play sets of all the cards, I'll be able to do more types of videos. The final thing I'll say on that is just that tomorrow, for the release of the set, I will have a pretty big video covering how to play the game of Weiss Schwarz using the Avatar trial deck going up against a trial deck from a different Weiss Schwarz set. So check out that if you actually want to learn how to play. But yeah, we'll go straight into the Netflix Tudum thing. So you can see here they have the live stream up already. So you can see here for me when I'm recording this, it says live in 2 days, June 17th at 9:30 p.m. my time, which is the time in Ireland. That's when it's actually going to go live. So the time in Brazil, obviously where it's airing from, is going to be, I think, what, 5:30. So I think it's going to be like a 2-hour presentation featuring lots of different things and series and so on. And we know we're going to get our first look at Avatar live action at this thing. So that's the news that we've kind of had up to now. But there's actually been quite a few things that have happened in the last while. So first up is this. There apparently is another part of the event that's actually happening tomorrow, because there's a big stage. People are actually in attendance in Brazil, and so apparently, if you look at the list, there's going to be a surprise on stage with Avatar at 1:15 p.m. Brazilian time on the 16th, so it's the day before. That's tomorrow, Friday, not Saturday when the stream is going to be. Now, you'll look at the timing, and it's from 1:15 to 1:45. Now, we don't know maybe if it's the full time, if they'll fill some of that time in with other stuff, but that is way longer than I think I was even expecting, like, the thing on Saturday to be. Like, I'm expecting, like, on the live stream to get maybe a 3-5 minute segment where the actors introduce like some images, maybe a small trailer type thing. But now there's going to be, what, like a 30-minute thing the day before? Now, they're obviously not going to spoil the full update, but you assume that there's going to have to be some sort of maybe reveal type thing here. Maybe we'll get our very first image from the show at this thing. Otherwise, that's probably just there for fans in attendance, that they get to see the actors on stage. They'll have some sort of an interview stuff where they'll talk about, working on the show. Maybe there's not a lot to show them. There's things that you can do where you don't completely ruin your surprise. But do just be aware that there is the potential for stuff to hit starting tomorrow at 1:15 Brazilian time, which I think is like 6:15 for me or 5:15 for me. I'll really have to look up some of the time difference stuff here. It's a little bit confusing, but that's that. Then we have some of the kind of leaks or rumors. So we've seen this account before, my time to shine. Hello, who've had leaks and rumors before, especially about the live action. So they posted yesterday mentioning that live action Avatar is now to be determined 2024. Now, I think this is probably the way things were heading. I think the rumors prior to this was that it was going to hit in the summer. I think in recent weeks, it became very, very clear that it was never going to hit the next couple of months. I think there was some hope that maybe we'd slot in right at the end of the year, but it now looks like they really, really want to get, I think it's the CG that's mainly the thing that's being done at this point. I get the impression they really want to get that right, so they're probably putting extra time into that. Who really knows, especially with all the kind of strikes and stuff like that going on. It's a bit confusing. That probably plays into it, but I definitely would take, almost if it is going to be directly like confirmed to be just at some point in 2024, that kind of feels like, whoa, like that probably is like putting Q1, like the first quarter of 2024, into question, and we're maybe looking at more like mid 2024. I hope it's maybe not that extreme, because I think this is a show that just needs to come out at some point in the next couple of months, and it being maybe nearly a year away still would be, I think, a major frustration for a lot of people. Because suddenly then this is really heavily crossing over into what is probably going to be the peak time for like Avatar Studios and all the animated stuff like that. They're probably going to start like putting news out, and I'm not sure if we necessarily want too much crossover with live action and animation stuff happening side by side. They also seem to know what's going to be shown at the Tudum event. So no trailer at Tudum for Avatar The Last Airbender. What you will get is some photos and to see the intro/opening sequence. So, I think everyone knew we're probably going to get some sort of a photo thing. Like I mentioned in, I think, my last news video about the One Piece got its sort of like initial photos a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months ago. We would expect something like that for Avatar. Just a first look at like characters. You assume that because they've got the 4 main cast members doing this segment of the Tudum event, that we'll see probably what they look like in their costumes. And then they're not showing us like a trailer, but like clips from the show. Instead, they potentially are just going to show us the more specifically crafted intro to the show, which we have to assume is going to be very similar to the way ATLA did it, the way Korra did it, even the Last Airbender movie did its version of the intro, where you have the silhouetted benders and you have the earth, air, water, fire thing in sequence. Now, are they going to change it up? Because, of course, if you look at the intro for ATLA, it's a bit weird, and it feels a little bit like, oh yeah, you could tell that this was made like before the show properly kind of found its way, because who's in that intro? It's Paku, and the Earthbender character in the intro of ATLA is the early design for Toph, which they sort of altered to be Avatar Roku's earthbending master, Sud. So he's in there. Azula is the firebender, and then Aang is the airbender. So it's a bit of an odd selection of characters, especially the earthbender. My assumption probably for this one is going to be that I think it would make a lot of sense for them to change this to being avatars, like Korra did, where in this case you would have Aang, Roku, Kyoshi, and Karuk. And that would fit because they have the actors for Kyoshi, Karuk, and Roku. And for some of those characters, you wonder how much of a role are they necessarily going to have? Well, this intro is a way to utilize those characters, I think, and to show Aang. At the very least, even if the pictures are a little bit vague, we should hopefully see Aang through this intro. Now, the bigger question probably is going to be, does this also feature Aang going into, say, the Katara narration, when the Fire Nation attacked thing? Are we going to get that? Which could actually lead to us seeing quite a few visuals, because especially the extended intro for maybe the first episode actually shows you quite a bit. Are we going to see Aang on the air scooter in that kind of field like is in the intro to the show? Are they going to show us Sokka and Katara watching their father go off to war, show the Fire Nation coming in, show the air temples burning? Is that all going to be there? Because I think they want to make it accurate as possible, so I don't think they're going to do something crazy with the intro. But like little changes, like I think the sequence of characters being adjusted to be more fitting, I think makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, that's probably the correct approach. If you're wondering about the Last Airbender movie and what they did, I actually just watched it a few minutes ago just to check on it. As far as I can tell, the Last Airbender movie just does it where it's just like four random characters. It's just like an Earthbender, a Firebender. I'm not sure if you're meant to connect them to any characters in the movie, but I don't think it's the case. Because, like, certainly, especially when they get to air, it is not Aang. And I don't think it's Gyatso either. I think it's just an Airbender. So we'll see what they do there. Now, is this super exciting? I think at this point, like, anything that we get to see that gives us a sense of what this show is somewhat exciting. But I think in combination with potentially the reveal that it maybe has been fully pushed back into maybe, later into 2024 than most people would probably expect or want. This might be a little bit of a disappointment that it just seems like the show is maybe a little bit further behind than we thought, and that we're just going to be waiting 6 months longer than we maybe even expected. There's that disappointment, but any progress from where we are right now, where we're still, the only image that we really have is the concept art from years ago. Anything is progress. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be hard to super just disappoint people. Like, unless through the photos and the intro we just end up seeing nothing, that we still can't really say anything about, like, is it good? Is it bad? That might be a frustration, but otherwise, I think this is a reasonable thing. And again, this is just a rumor. We don't know for sure, absolute sure, that this is going to be the case. Usually, these things are pretty accurate. These accounts do have a reputation to uphold, so they have to be accurate about some things. And especially for like an event that is literally happening over the course of like tomorrow and then the day after, you assume they have something that suggests that this is the case. So at least I think this is going to come out. Who knows if there might be other little bits and pieces, but I will cover this stuff when it happens. Like I said before, my aim here is I'm not going to be live streaming the Tudum event, because obviously it's going to be 2 hours. Most of it won't be Avatar. And if this is all they have to show, again, like I said, I'm expecting maybe 3 to 5 minutes of the Avatar segment. So I'll just, I think, wait for that to happen, and then maybe jump on an immediate live stream, and we could talk about what we saw maybe tomorrow and Saturday all at once. I think that's probably the best way to do it, rather than potentially wasting all of our times trying to live stream a 2-hour event for like 2 minutes of stuff that we're actually there to see. Now, moving on from that, the final piece of news from the video is Avatar Generation. So they did their next developer live stream, because the next big update for the game, I say big, the next update for the game is coming next week on the 20th. We will get update 1.11. Now, if we go straight to the patch notes here, so let me just switch this over here. If we go to the patch notes, they call this one 1.11 Game Improvements Update and Tuning Preview. They say you can expect exciting additions, new content, and engaging events. The reality of it is that they either haven't communicated well enough to get across what's exciting and what's not exciting, or this update just doesn't have what we're looking for. So the focus definitely seems to be on bug fixes and some quality of life updates. Most of them, I think, being relatively like subtle, nothing like huge that feels like, oh, the game is just 10 times more better now, but just kind of needed stuff that will help in the background. So the arena lockout problem, they say they have solved it, so that's good. Disappearing repeat battle options, freezes, they're adjusting character shaders, presentation, new animations is one of the big things they're highlighting. Updates to the UI design and visuals to just help with navigating the game and making things just easier to follow and keep track of. More voice lines added to the early story stuff. stuff to help newcomers. You can tap on any resources to access where you can earn them. So that's a nice thing. Hopefully it's detailed enough that it's actually helpful. So there's some sort of a hint system also going to be introduced. You can claim rewards easier, which is nice. But nothing super standout there, at least in my opinion. They don't talk about this on the developer live stream or anywhere else, just here. So there is a Summer Solstice 2-week event coming up that will feature powerful relics and arts as the rewards. And these relics will be, inspired by the beach. And you can earn items related to Mei, Zuko, Azula, and Ty Lee. And they'll be useful for upcoming heroes. Now, if you're looking at data mining stuff, we basically know that the characters they're bumping up compared to where they are in the story are Mei, Ty Lee, and Azula. So we don't know when they're coming. It's not this update. It's not the next update in terms of 1.11.1. I think 1.12 or 1.13 is where these characters are planned for. But what it means is that right now, coming into the game, is just going to be stuff that you will in the future be able to use with those characters. Now, the relics are usable by other characters, but obviously there's a little bit of a lack of excitement here just because it's the kind of least interesting part of the kind of thing we're looking for. Like, this would be an amazing event if it was just beach update. We will offer Mei, Azula, and Ty Lee for the first time, plus Beach Zuko. These 4 characters are available, plus you get all these relics and arts. That would be an amazing event, but that's not what this is, which is kind of frustrating. Then they're like, Imprisoned is coming, but it's a few weeks after this update. So what do you mean by that? Like 2-3 weeks? Because if it's a month, then it's just the next update to the game, because you seem to do monthly updates. So is that just what they're saying here? Or is 1.12 still theoretically planned for like the month after this? That's what's kind of frustrating, because as much as it's cool, like, we want new content in the game, and this is the next stage of the Aang story, it's still just episode 6. Like, Omashu was like 3 months ago at this point. It was back in March where we got that update. It is slow pacing on the Avatar story, especially considering they covered like a third of the Rise of Kyoshi in its update. The Avatar pacing is glacial in comparison. And the hype, what's the hype here for? It's like, okay, Haru, Prison Warden, maybe a new Tyro. Is that really what we want to get excited about for this? So I'm just a little worried that, like, they're kind of hyping up Imprisoned here when there's not really anything really there. There needs to be kind of something more substantial. And, like, going forward, it just feels like I want to know what the plan is for, like, if it's a really weak episode that doesn't really have much to offer, are we still just getting the same level of update? It's a bit weird, and I would like to know a little bit more about what's happening. Then they have the tuning preview again, which is also coming on the same day. Again, they think they promised effectively every update there'd be some sort of tuning updates, and for the most part, it is kind of Kyoshi is getting a nerf, which is good. Her counter attack stuff is going down from 35 to 25. They are working in the background to implement the thing that will actually limit characters in terms of the amount of times they can counterattack each turn, which is probably for the better. But also there are some combat bug fixes that also effectively nerf Kyoshi as well. This one right here. So cannot be countered, actually can't be countered anymore, which is very important. Stuff like this. Fix for a number of effects being considered buffs by Avatar Kyoshi's buff removal effect when they weren't actually buffs. So she won't trigger her extra attacks as often, which is good. Fix an issue when revenge could trigger off each other. Avatar Kyoshi ping pong attack, so they want to avoid that as well. So a lot of this stuff is like cool. The other character updates are mostly buffs for characters. You'll also note here these two characters here. The fact that they're getting updates obviously means they are coming soon. They did a minor teaser on the live stream for the fact that yes, Moon Spirit Yue and Moon Slayer Zhao are coming. They will be the next Peace Chaos event, which I think will be more towards the end of this month. So they will be the last early access characters. Once they're done and their banner is gone through, everything else going forward should be completely new in the game, which is very, very important, at least in my opinion. So let's switch back to this and talk about the final kind of stuff. So they put up a minor teaser for Imprisoned during the stream. It's literally just a background image. They didn't really do kind of anything else. It looks cool and all, obviously, what's going on here. The background stuff does look great, but it's just Imprisoned. We'll soon be asking for what about episode 7 and 8? What about episode 9? We're not even halfway through book 1 and the game's been out for 6 months. Like, there is a little bit of a problem there, I think, with just the pacing. They specifically tease Zhao, but it is both of them that will be coming into that banner, of course. Because I know when I got early access to the game, which was right towards the end, it was basically just before the official release, I actually had a chance to pull stuff on this banner, but I didn't bother because I knew it was ending in like 3 or 4 days. So it's fun to see this one actually come back around. Other than that, this area here is part of the new kind of intro stuff for new players. They're basically updating what was previously what's a very Monkey specific thing, which is still in there, but it's now better constructed to be a more unique scenario. So new players will get this new story that also features the new character that was introduced last month, Mamushi here. So she'll be in this, which I guess confirms like she's not killed off or anything like that in between like book 1 all the way up to pretty late book 3, because for this to be canon and stuff like that, this has to be set like after episode 16 or something like that of book 3. So it's pretty interesting stuff. There is a big frustration though that only new players get to look at this, because if you're a player who's gone through the intro, which is basically all players who currently play the game, you don't get to see this. You're considered to have already done the intro stuff already, to the point where they're kind of like, well, what you can do is you can log out and then log in as like a new account, play through the intro, but make sure not to save it or that'll ruin your save file. And it's like, what sort of solution is that? And I think it is becoming a little bit of a problem, stuff like this in the game, that like you can't replay story content, and now here is a new piece of content retroactively being added into the start of the game that you also can't access. I don't really like that. This feels like the sort of thing where like if you're going to do this, you need to put that out like as a video yourselves, like the playthrough of the intro, because even asking content creators to do that I think is a lot, because I don't want to risk my account, like having to like create a new account and it potentially get in the way of my save data. Sure, you could do a completely separate account somewhere else and stuff like that and do it easier. Like there are ways around it, but it's not as simple as it should be, which is just that like you should be able to look at all the content that's actually in the game, but this is actually being excluded from a lot of players, which is I think a bit of a frustration. And then also other stuff that they didn't mention on the stream here or in the patch notes, but that are actually probably the most important parts of the update. I think they confirmed the adventure teams are going to be going up from 12 to 16 with the new update as well. So that's a nice kind of positive thing. Again, we're going to have to wait and see like full details on every single change kind of added to the game. And we probably won't really see that until the update actually hits. It's going to be a weird one to cover though, because like there's no inherent like fully new content in the game. So it's just whatever they decide to really add in, because like we don't even know what new banners are coming up, outside of the fact that the whole summer solstice thing is coming up, but they didn't even say when exactly that's starting. So this update just feels a little bit like more disorganized and not as well planned out as some of the other ones. Like The Kyoshi update obviously stands out as being the best because it was like an entire month plus of this is the way this is going to work. It's the introduction of a whole new era into the game, and we haven't got back up to that level at all since the kind of Kyoshi update stuff ended. So yeah, not super enthused about this update. Like, I appreciate, of course, a lot of the bug fixes and stuff like that, which the game has needed. But the fact that, you know, it means we have to have an update that effectively doesn't really have much new content is a frustration. And then the fact that I think, you know, it's a 40-minute long stream, and I really don't think they presented information as effectively as they could on this one. They were having technical issues, which I do understand, but it does feel like they didn't touch on the actually interesting parts of the update. And so there are way more stuff going on in the patch notes, and even just casually mentioned throughout the Discord than was actually mentioned on the stream. So I'm hopefully they can improve and get back to kind of the way things were before, because it's a bit like it wasn't great really, this one. But yeah, that has been the video. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. Avatar Weiss Schwarz tomorrow. The kind of preview day, I guess, for Netflix Tudum is also tomorrow. There's a chance for live action Avatar news with whatever the special surprise is. Whether or not that's news or it's just a surprise for people in attendance, we don't really know. But then, of course, Saturday is the big live stream event where we will actually get our first look. What are your expectations for that? And Avatar Generations new update. Do you have any thoughts on it? But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.